fam, and today we're going to talk about something has come to the forefront of life since the pandemic in 2020, which is mental health. The focus on mental health, the meaning of mental health, the need for assistance with mental health. And of course, I got my girl, Alicia Patton, to kind of reflect and talk about it. So, like I said, I started this podcast to talk about my journeys, and this is one of my journeys of mental health. So you're going to learn a little bit more about me today than you know. So with mental health, of course, mental health is about, emotional, psychological, social well-being, and physical. And honestly, I didn't really know the depths of social, well-being and emotional things. And, of course, I got hurt by breakups and ending friendships and losing people to death and things like that. The normal life stuff. But for myself, when people talk about self-care and they talk about, I'm going to get my nails done, I'm going to the spa, I'm going to go buy a purse, I'm going to get my lashes done, I'm going to get my hair done, all of that is self-care, which is good because, when the girls get their hair done, baby, you feel good, you feel good, you feel nice, you feel snazzy. One of my things is, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, but I get to buy me a bra and some underwear. Honey,
That's your thing?
I go into a 10 I
know that about you.
the way these big booties gotta be held up nicely. The bra costs a good $65, $70, okay? But I like that because that makes me feel good. That makes me feel special and all that stuff like that. But more so, self-care is a little bit more than just doing on the outside. You have to do the work on the inside. And being depressed, laying in the bed, not being physical, not being active or anything of that nature, I didn't think about those things actually until July of 2013. And just to give you guys a little backstory, a few people know about this story, but I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, vacationing with my family. My dad was at home because he didn't want to travel, and this particular day I called, I wanted to talk to him, see how he was doing, since he didn't go on the trip with us, and he didn't answer the phone. And automatically I was like, oh, he must be sleeping, or the phone is off, or the ringer is off, or something like that. Well, as the day goes on, 3-4 hours later, I'm like, he didn't call me back, so let's call him back.
That was unusual for you.
Very unusual, very unusual. And I asked my mom to call him, and she said, well, he's not answering either. So we went on, continued through the day. At night, I said, something had to be wrong. So I felt it in my shanana that something was wrong. And finally, I called my aunt and I said, listen, something's going on. Daddy hasn't called me back. And she said, you know what? He hadn't called me back today either. So I knew my antennas went up. I said, go around the corner and find out what's going on with us. She gets around the corner, she gets to the house, his car is there, the lights are on, the TV is on, she can see it through the sliding glass doors. So she yells at the door and she's like, Rufus, 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 are you okay? Are you okay? He fell. He fell. He didn't have anybody, he didn't have any help or anything like that. So we were able to get into the house, and he had actually tripped over a small piece of rug going to the restroom from his chair. And that right there shocked me. It scared me, it angered me, but it put a lot of fear to where anytime I call him and he doesn't answer, something is wrong.
It's a trigger.
It was a big trigger at that point. So Fast forward, we get home, we check him out. He's in the hospital. They say this is what it is. We're going to get him together. And he started going through his rehab and his legs, because his legs were very, very heavy and he was retaining a lot of water. So he was going through renal failure. So we had to figure out how we were going to be able to be a great support to him. So as my mom was taking care of him, every time she would call me, I would jump because I would think the worst. I would always think that something else has happened, or he's passed away, or something else.
0 to 100.
Always, and I stayed on 100 all the time. And unfortunately, in December of 2013, the day before Christmas Eve, 2 days before Christmas, he passed away. Right then and there, that shook me. That shook my fear into anxiety. And I didn't know really what anxiety was until that time. Now, granted, prior to that, when I used to work at the bank, there was a serial bank robber. I remember the robber, who he would be in a mask and a fisherman's hat and all that stuff
Dressed
like
like
that,
a lady.
dressed like a lady with a fisherman's hat on.
He hit
Several of RBC branches, and this particular day, I was like, gosh, I hope he never comes to our bank, because I don't know what would happen. Well, lo and behold, we're in the bank, we're having a good day, it was easy. We unlock the door, we start our day, the bank is open at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m., y'all. 9 a.m. we are open in the bank.
So he didn't take no
Literally, nope. He walked in that bank at 9:03 and stood at that counter with that gun pointed and said, give me the money and no funny. And everybody looked and we were shook. I picked up my drawer, I put it on the counter, and I put my hands up and I walked to the bank. He shook my fear. He shook fear in me to take my sense of security away. And it took me a little while to build that back up, but then I got this shake of fear every time my mom calls me, something is wrong. So, some of the traits of mental health issues, are insomnia, the retraction or the lack of interaction, shutting down, withdrawing from your family, friends, depression, restlessness, anxious all the time, and things like that. And like I said, 2013 was a good year for me, but also was a very bad year for me. And I didn't know what to do or figure out how I needed to move forward, because I was on edge all the time. So, of course, I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, oh, you just gotta pray. You just gotta pray. Go to church. Talk to your spiritual advisor. Read your Bible. Mary had a little light. All of that. Right. And Mary had a little light. Jesus wept. All of that. But I had to tell her I need more than Jesus. I know Jesus saves because he is Lord. But I need more than Jesus.
I might need some medicine.
Some medicine.
Yeah.
But I had to figure out what that path was, what I needed to do, how I needed to figure it out. And I figured it out because, again, she told me to pray. I prayed about it, but I remember my grandma used to say, what the Bible says, faith without works is dead. So I had the faith and I knew what I needed to do and I needed to pray, but guess what? Baby, it's called therapy. It's called some pills, called Xanax, Valium, prescribed only, Some people have those natural herbs of the earth.
Some natural herbs. Yeah.
In some edibles. You heard about that?
I heard about
You heard about that?
I heard about some edible.
CBD. The CBD. But that natural.
But everybody's journey is not the same.
But they have that natural stuff too. Yeah. But you're right. Everybody's journey is not the same. So different things are different. Are always going to be different. So, I was literally young. Yes, I took Xanax probably for about a year after my father passed away because I got anxious about everything. I have road rage, but I also got anxious while driving. I would grip the steering wheel so hard that I would have whelps in my hand because I was nervous. Every time the phone rang, I thought doom and gloom. And my mom didn't like to see her child like that. So she was like, I need for you to find some help. I need you to do some things. So I went to therapy, y'all. I was in therapy for 2.5 years.
But therapy is not a bad thing.
Therapy is not a bad thing. I actually love therapy because it made me step out and figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to cope and deal. And that's one thing that I know, unfortunately, these kids today don't have. They don't have the skills to cope and deal. They turn to social media and they stay on social media, and social media gives them the skills to cope and deal. Correct. So I was able to cope and deal through therapy. Therapy taught me how to journal. Y'all, I didn't even know I liked to color until I got me some crayons and a good old-fashioned coloring book from the dollar store, and I would color. And that coloring book of me creating a picture, a simple picture, brought my stress levels down.
That's interesting.
It did.
That's interesting.
A coloring book, because colors can stimulate your senses. If you see a yellow, you want to smile because it's pretty and bright. Orange is pretty and bright. Brown is dark, but it's soothing. So when you start coloring in different pictures, I started doing that.
I had to work on that. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Because adult coloring to me is corny, but it works.
And I'm not talking about the sip and paint stuff when you paint. I'm talking about the coloring book. I'm talking an actual coloring book that they have in kindergarten. You get them that 64 crayon box
And just get down
and get on that bed and start up.
and get down in there.
And it works. Besides that, I also learned how to journal and write.
Now, I love that. Journaling, writing, that's my thing.
Writing, but
Especially in those
but it wasn't in those moments that I needed to write. My therapist, my first therapist, I had to fire her ass because she was horrible. She was getting on my fucking nerves, but I would be angry.
But that's important to say.
I got angrier more before I got there after I left.
But that's why it's important too, because we say therapy is important, but not only is therapy important.
You gotta have the right therapist. Correct.
Is important.
And I actually found the right therapist. She was amazing, and she taught me how to journal, but she didn't tell me journal in the moment. She said journal about the things that hurt you the most. Because when you put it out on paper, you're finally getting it out. You're finally crying while you're writing. You're finally resolving what needs to be resolved. So those words on that paper, you're crying through the words and you're crying through exactly how you feel. And then when you finish, you close that book and you put it away because you put it all on the paper. And when you put it all on the paper, it's all the atmosphere. It's all on the atmosphere. So that's exactly what I did. I talked about how mad I was that my dad died. I was mad because he gave up. I felt he gave up too soon. But then I had to realize he was tired. He was tired going to the doctor. He was tired of living that quality of life in the rehab. I was being selfish because I didn't want him to go. But after he died, and y'all, I cussed him out at the funeral. Yes, I was at the casket. casket saying, "How dare you leave me? How dare you leave Mama? You are so, selfish." But I got that out, but then I ended up writing it down. And it was one day I went to visit his gravesite, and I stood there and I started laughing. And I was like, I was mad at you for all this time. But now I'm okay. And I can come out here. I can come out here and actually talk to you without boo crying and being mad. I can actually come out here and laugh and talk to you and give you updates on what's going on, even though you know what's going on. But I feel like I'm sharing it with you. And then when I get in the car and I drive off from the cemetery, I feel better and I go and fucking happy with my life. You know what I mean? So I did the whole therapy thing, I did the journal thing, I did the coloring thing, and honestly, I still like the fucking coloring thing.
You like the coloring?
I really like the coloring thing because it actually helped. And I'm not talking about the color by number shit. I'm talking about the color. I'm talking about the coloring book that you actually have to put your own colors together and make that picture work. Yeah, she gonna have coloring books. Yeah, coloring books and something else that some natural medicine. But other stuff that, I thought about doing was going to retreats, taking trips, and that was something else I was afraid of, taking trips by myself. But I had to learn to be by myself.
Yeah.
Even though I was scared to be by myself, going to a different city by myself. But I'm just like, wait a minute, I'm not fucking by myself. So I can go somewhere else by myself. But then I have to think, if I travel with somebody, I have to travel with that right person to where I feel safe. Because I can't feel safe with somebody I can't trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to
Well, and
make
you still
sure.
want it to be a good trip, a relaxing trip.
Very relaxing, and I don't need no drama either, because I'm actually going to unwind. I'm actually going to decompress.
That's what I thought about. I'm like, why it's so important that you, who am I traveling with?
Right, but then also I have to trust that person to where I'm gonna have a moment in that trip, morning, noon, night, having a cocktail at the pool, at the beach, in the car, in the Uber, wherever. I'm gonna have a moment where I'm going to be vulnerable and open up. And I'm going to want to make sure that that person I can trust can receive what I'm saying versus saying, "Oh, I ain't never going on a trip with this bitch no more, because she's crazy."
She's crazy. Yeah. Right.
She's sitting there talking about, I can't believe so and so and so, and then you get home and then you a topic in a group text and talking about, I ain't never traveled with this.
Yeah, because you know how to do
Okay, we got them group text messages now. And that's gonna be another episode about them group text messages, because them shits can get you in trouble too. But yeah, so how has your mental health?
I have moments just like everyone else, right? I've had my battles with depression, anxiety, just being overwhelmed. We talked about having a family, running a business, trying to be a great daughter, a great friend, sometimes life's pressures can be a lot. Not only life's pressures, but things that occur, right, in life. You talked about the passing of your dad. I remember being in a really bad car accident a couple years ago, right? Simply on my way to work, something I do 5 days a week. I'm driving and I'm on my way to work, and a car I'm in a truck, right? Runs a red light, slams right into me, and drives into me into oncoming traffic.
I remember that, because you called me talking about this motherfucker truck that hit you in 77. I'm driving right behind this motherfucker. I'm hurt. I feel pain, but I'm still driving. I'm like, girl.
More than anything.
True. Your adrenaline was still up.
Girl, do you remember I just got a new phone?
And she had just like a couple of days ago, like a couple of days before that, she had just got it.
Yeah.
And this semi.
But that did something to me.
It did.
That did something to me. So, you know, I enjoyed riding a motorcycle, right? I could ride a motorcycle. There was a level of nervous anxiety, right? So if I see a car and they make a wrong move or something, like I know I'm reacting like way beyond normal. Moving and jumping and twitching and stuff. You can't be doing all that on a motorcycle. So there's just certain things that happen in life that.
So that limited you for a long time.
Absolutely. No, I sold it.
That's right, you did sell your bike.
I sold it. Yeah, I sold it.
So fear made you sell it.
Fear, nervousness, the anxiety, right? Because I know it's going to take me a while to get to a point where I felt comfortable getting back.
But then you got the four-wheeler.
Okay, so now I got the slingshot. This one was.
No, but then y'all get the four.
No, that ain't.
Oh, okay. Now you got the slingshot.
But now I got the slingshot. But it feels different, right? I feel more secure. To me, that feels more like a car. I'm going to drive, but I still have my moments like, look what you doing, you know, all that stuff. But it feels different. So different things that happen in life makes you feel a certain way.
So how did you approach that you knew that you needed help through your anxiety and your fear, that you knew you needed to do more for your mental health?
To grow and to get beyond. I think the first thing is really just acknowledging, paying attention to who you are, how you move, self-reflection. Sometimes you actually have to slow down, right? Sometimes life can take you in so many directions. Just paying attention to yourself, right?
Because you're always on goal for 1,000 for everybody else, and then when you go to sleep at night, you're like, damn.
Yeah,
I ain't did shit.
I haven't. Yeah, shit. I might not have ate today. You know, those kind of things. So part of my self-care is slowing down and paying more attention to me, right? And carving out more time for myself. First Friday of every month is my day. So I'm not going to the office. I'm not working. I'm not doing anything for the family. Until I do something for myself. Yeah, I make sure I plan something for me every first Friday. Yeah, if I don't get any other time, I'm unavailable. I have a personal appointment with me the first Friday. So little things like that. This year I started traveling by myself. Right? Something I've never ever done. So that's been really huge. It's been very major for me. So just taking
we getting our trip on the book soon too.
Yeah, I'm ready. Look, she ready now. Just taking a little bit of personal time for yourself. I think it's really, really important.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't fill your own cup, how do you feel?
Right. And you can't always fill everybody else's cup when you want empty.
Shit, yours empty.
Sure enough. So, you know, nowadays it's become a huge issue. Well, not issue, but a focal point. Mental health has become a huge focal point. In May, the month of May, these 31 days of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I would charge you, my two-piece family followers, to do one thing great for yourself a week. If it's just to disconnect and unplug for an hour, do an hour of meditation, go take a walk somewhere you've never been to look at different sites, go get a coloring book, you know, listen to some soothing music of some, you know, some clear, calm music or something, journal, or even call that one person that, again, you trust, you can talk to, and just say, you know what bothered me today? Can I talk to you about that? And it's not about a resolution. It's about just getting it out and clearing up that headspace, because
it's a process. It's a process.
Correct. And one thing my therapist told me was, you don't, and I thought about you when she said this. She said, your body is like property. And anything you put in it is holding prime real estate. And if you got something that's gnawing at you 10, 12 times a day, stress, you know, a job you don't like, somebody you're dating, or your parents, or anything like that.
It's diminishing the value of your property.
It's diminishing you, but also it's taking up prime real estate. So you got to sell it. You got to get rid of that, because there's something else that's waiting to take wake up that primal instinct that's good for you. And when she said that, I automatically thought about you, but I also automatically thought about my spiritual advisor at church, because she always said, you are a vessel. And what you put in your body helps you grow, but whatever you also put in your body makes you demise.
And your mind, not just your body.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. When you put in your body the knowledge, the bullshit, the drama, the stress, the anxiety, the he say, she say stuff, you know, it took me years to get to a point where I could sleep more than 3 hours a night, because my insomnia took over me so much. Because one, if my phone rang, I'm jumping up and I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And my mom saw it, my aunt saw it, my sister saw it, even the person I was dating at the time saw it, and they said, you can't live like that. You can't always live in the ready of fear to hear something bad on the phone. So you have to, yeah, the inevitable is going to happen, but one of my favorite sayings, you know, that I learned a long time ago is, pain is inevitable, but suffering and how you deal with it is optional. So you know something is going to happen. You know death is going to happen. You know I need you to come home because I need some help. You know those things are inevitable because life is inevitable. Things are going to happen. Mishaps are going to happen. But how you deal with it and suffering in it is optional. You have control of how you're going to deal or how you're going to suffer, if you're going to suffer at all. So when you take control of that and say, I'm just going to deal with it, you deal with it and not try to be the hero all the time. So when you finish figuring out, okay, I'm just going to not roll with the punches, but I'm going to align myself in what I need to do and align myself on how I need to move, then you're able to push everything away and focus. You see? So, I'm going to wrap this up, my two-piece fam. I hope you learned a little bit more about me, a little bit more about mental health, about my girl, AP over here. So again, I challenge you, I charge you with doing something special for yourself once a week. If it's whatever, laugh, call a friend, go color, go take a walk, get some of this good air. Just do something. Exercising, though, is always good. Do a 30-minute walk on the treadmill, something. But just do something for yourself and be strong about it. So, as I always say, where we going next? Shades on, glasses up. Two-piece, y'all. Till next time.